Over breakfast, my dad casually dropped the news, "We've booked a trip to Italy. Just the 6 of us." He said it like he was reading the weather. I looked up and replied, "Yeah, of course." That was all. Later that night, my phone buzzed with a bank alert, $9,200 in charges from Rome, Venice, and Florence. Hotels, tours, meals, all of it. I didn't panic. I calmly froze the card, filed a dispute, and kept my mouth shut. The next morning, while I was sipping coffee at home, a message from my mom popped up. "Why did our boarding passes disappear?" I didn't explain. I just typed back, "I'm not on the trip." They ended up spending the first 2 nights stuck in Terminal 3. No hotel, no sightseeing, no wine tastings. Just sitting, waiting, pointing fingers at the airline. I can still hear the way my dad made the announcement at breakfast. He barely looked up from his scrambled eggs when he said it. "We're headed to Italy. 6 of us. You get it?" No lead up, no emotion behind it. Just straight up, like it was some routine update. My mom gave a small nod, my sister beamed, and her husband chuckled like it was the punchline to a joke. I glanced at my plate, then at each one of them and replied with a smile, "Of course." Not bitter, not sarcastic, just polite enough to let them move on without feeling awkward. But I knew what was coming. I'd noticed the hushed conversations, the subtle excitement about some big summer surprise. I just hadn't expected them to be this blatant about it. They couldn't even look me in the eye when they said it. My dad had this way of pretending we were all equals, like every decision was made as a team. As if I hadn't fronted the down payment on their house after his second layoff. As if I hadn't stepped in when my sister's credit tanked and she couldn't get approved for anything. As if I hadn't covered the business loan last fall to keep the family dream alive. I sat there chewing on dry toast while they debated luggage weight limits and layovers. "Florence might be hot, but at least it's not humid," my mom said. "I'm just excited for all the pasta," my sister added with a grin. Her husband was already scrolling through wine tour options on his phone. Nobody noticed I'd gone quiet. But that's typical. They're used to me staying in the background, agreeable, dependable, quietly present. Always there. Never in the spotlight. Useful but not central. So I let them talk. I sat there, took a bite, took a sip, and nodded whenever it seemed expected. Later that night, back home, the bank sent another alert. Same card. Same trip. $9,200 in charges scattered across Italy, Rome, Venice, Florence. I stared at the numbers. Not because I was shocked, but because, honestly, I wasn't surprised at all. This wasn't new. They'd done it before, slipped me into the tab, accidentally, used my info. Told the server to put everything on the family card, which always meant mine. I didn't blow up. Didn't call. I just launched the bank app, locked the card, and flagged every single charge. Fraudulent, I noted. The whole thing took 5 minutes. Then I turned off my phone, made myself some tea, and watched an old black and white movie until I drifted off. The next morning at the airport, my mom sent the message. "Why did our boarding passes vanish?" I answered simply, "I'm not on the trip." That's all I said. They ended up sitting in Terminal 3 for 2 days. No hotel rooms. No guided tours. No wine tasting or sightseeing. Just hours and hours of sitting. Blaming the airline, I'm sure. And eventually, probably blaming me. But Italy wasn't the beginning. Things like this don't just start. These moments stack up over time. Paper cuts disguised as logistics, betrayals dressed up as minor oversights. One after another. Like layers of dust settling quietly. Italy was just the most recent layer on a cliffside I'd spent years pretending wasn't crumbling underneath me. That night, after freezing the card and watching their names disappear from my account, I couldn't sleep. But it wasn't guilt keeping me awake. There wasn't a trace of guilt. Felt still, clean almost. Like the calm that settles over a room after everyone's left and you can finally hear your own breath. But of course, the memories crept back in. Like Christmas Eve, that one year they gave my seat to the neighbor who ran the flooring shop. "We figured you'd be fine in the kitchen," my mom said like that made it better. I'd driven 6 hours just to be there. And they didn't even bother to set a place for me. I left that night, cut the mortgage assistance I was covering for them, and shut down the streaming service they all shared. Then there was the anniversary dinner. I dropped $7,500 for a celebration they turned into a joke at my expense. To those who actually matter, my brother toasted with a smirk. They laughed. I smiled politely, then got up and walked out. I canceled the payment and let the restaurant manager deliver the bill. They couldn't leave until Uncle Mike reluctantly footed the tab. Any one of those moments could have been brushed off as a fluke, a misunderstanding, or just bad timing. But taken together? I pay, they chuckle. I show up, they act like I'm furniture. I give, they erase me. That's not bad communication. That's by design. That's a system. And I finally saw the whole thing for what it was. I wasn't a son. I was a subscription. A safety net. A walking, talking financial contingency plan behind every last-minute flight, every big dinner, every over-the-top celebration. That was my role. Invisible but dependable. Not loved, just tolerated. Not appreciated, just used. My sister's wedding? They ran up $9,800 on my card without saying a word. When I asked about it, her bridesmaids laughed. You don't have a wife or kids. Might as well be helpful, she said with a shrug. Helpful. That's what I'd become to them. A tool. A bank account. My success wasn't seen as mine, it was theirs to cash in on. The fact that I never settled down wasn't my business, it was their opportunity. My silence wasn't a boundary, it was their green light. Even when I gave out of love, they turned it into leverage. There was that time I paid for the backyard remodel. Right after it was done, my mom called to tell me the celebration would be just immediate family. I canceled everything the next day, every single vendor, the setup, all of it. When she showed up pounding on my door, shouting like I'd betrayed her, I just let her yell. Then, without a word, I opened the door. I had already made up my mind. I wasn't gonna be the convenient one anymore. For a long time, I truly believed, naively, that maybe they just didn't know better. That if I kept showing up, kept helping, kept paying for everything, they'd eventually see me for who I was. Not as the guy missing a leg. Not the broken veteran. But simply their son. Their brother. A full person. But that's not how it works with them. It was never about forgetting me. It was always about cutting me out. On purpose. Because I was easier to overlook than to appreciate. Because I didn't make a scene. I didn't raise my voice. I followed the rules. I stayed in line. I never pushed back, until now. Italy wasn't just another moment. It was the moment I finally saw the full picture. And once that pattern clicks into place, the pain stops feeling confusing. You stop asking, why are they doing this to me? And start asking, what are they getting out of it? And the answer? Everything. For years, they had access. They had safety. They had comfort, flexibility, freedom to make dumb moves, because I was always there, quietly catching the fallout. I was the invisible cushion underneath their recklessness. They figured I'd never actually cut the cord. They guessed wrong. Because this time, after freezing that card and sitting alone in the dark, I didn't feel bad. What I felt was precise. Cold. Clear. I saw IP addresses. Contract details. Account links. This time, I wasn't the one asking, why me? I was the one saying, not anymore. I didn't reach out. Didn't explain myself. Didn't ask if they understood. The thing about shutting down a supply line is, you don't need anyone's blessing. They woke up in Rome to find no hotel check-in, no tour guide waiting, no sign of the fancy prepaid itinerary. I know, because I watched the refund emails roll in one after the other like steady rain slipping through a cracked ceiling. First it was the boutique hotel in Trastevere. Then the rooftop dinner reservation in Florence. Then the private water taxi in Venice. Every cancellation came with a message, even if they couldn't read it. Access denied. I was back in my apartment when the real work started. This wasn't just freezing a card or reversing a charge. I started tearing down the whole framework they'd been standing on. And the wild part? They didn't even know what I'd built, or how much of their lives depended on it. Step 1. Communication. I logged into the family phone plan. My name on the account. 5 lines, mine, theirs, my sister's, all tied to me. I didn't hit the kill switch. That would have been too quick. Instead, I handed over ownership, one line at a time, with a 72-hour window to accept. If they didn't, the line would go dark. No more unlimited legacy data. No shared cloud storage. No backups of group texts. Just radio silence. Step 2, the digital foundation. The password manager we all used? That was under my subscription. I changed the master password, locking them out of every saved login. Airline miles, utility websites, even their pet insurance account. No more, can you reset it for us? Texts. Just the sound of nothing. Step 3, home access. Their house, the one I helped retrofit after my first raise, ran on smart systems I controlled. Locks, thermostat, cameras, Wi-Fi mesh. Every bit of it tied to my accounts. That Sunday, while they were scrambling to find a hostel in Italy, I pulled the plug. The door locks switched to manual. Thermostat reset itself. Security cameras blinked offline. And no, it wasn't out of spite. I did it because I finally realized it was never mine to give in the first place. Step 4, money. The mortgage support I'd set up? Gone. I contacted the bank, officially pulled out as co-signer. That triggered a full income reassessment. Their cozy monthly payment? About to go up fast. 60 days tops. Utilities? For almost 2 years, I'd quietly been covering electric and water through autopay. I shut it off. The Amazon account they used to send each other gifts, never once remembering me, logged out of every device. Streaming services? Gone. The storage unit? Their Christmas lights, the patio heater, my dad's so-called vintage tools, everything would be donated if they didn't come grab it by the end of the week. Step 5. The one they never saw coming, the business. Their little family-run side hustle? All of it was built on a digital backbone I created. The email domains. Hosting. File backups. Everything tied to my LLC. I let them use it out of goodwill. This time, I shut it down. Deleted access. Removed their workspace permissions. Left them a final note on the admin dashboard. This system was provided as a courtesy by Mason. As of today, it has been decommissioned. Please contact a licensed IT provider for further assistance. No anger. No argument. Just clean, professional closure. By midweek, their group chat was falling apart. My sister messaged, "Why can't I log into the hotel app?" My mom wrote, "The Wi-Fi won't connect." Did something happen? My dad, always short, just said, "Fix it." I didn't reply. Not even at it. Instead, I rang up a colleague who specializes in emergency business transitions. Told him they'd be reaching out soon. I gave him the full pricing menu. No family discounts. Step 6, the paper trail. I gathered up every transaction tied to them from the last 3 years. Every overdraft I covered. Every meal they didn't pay back. Every Venmo they sent with a heart emoji and no follow-through. Organized. Labeled. I sorted every transaction, labeled them carefully, and sent the whole file to my lawyer. He asked if I was gearing up for a lawsuit. I told him no. I was getting ready for peace. Then came step 7, the fallout. That Friday night, while they were supposedly wandering Florence, trying to salvage some gelato tour, my phone buzzed with my first voicemail. It was my mom's voice, thick with confusion and guilt. "This isn't like you, Mason. You're scaring us." She tried to sound worried, but beneath it all, you could hear the real fear, not of me, but of the silence. They didn't miss me. They missed what I gave them. By Saturday, my dad broke. He sent me a huge text wall about how I was throwing away the family. I read it twice. Mostly, it was projection. "We did everything for you. You used to be grateful. Now you act like a stranger." Not a single word about Italy. No mention of the $9,200 charges on my card. No apologies. Because, to them, this wasn't betrayal. It was rebellion. I'd stepped out of my role. The silent benefactor. The fixer. Now I was a wild card. A loose end they couldn't control. And that scared them more than any missed trip or frozen subscription ever could. Because now they had to face the truth. The house they lived in, emotionally, financially, even digitally, was built by me. brick by brick, login by login, dollar by dollar. And they'd been trespassing all along. So I locked every door. Digitally, emotionally, legally. Then I walked away. At first, they didn't reach out to me. They messaged each other. The family group chat, dead for days, exploded like a dam breaking. My sister was first. Who changed the camera login? Is this some kind of joke? 10 minutes later, my mom chimed in, we can't access the banking portal. Mason, did you do something? Then my dad, this is childish. Grow up. I didn't respond. So they pushed harder. That's what happens when you break their pattern. They treat silence like a challenge. The test. Something to fix. But real silence? It's not the start of a negotiation. It's the end of patience. They weren't looking to talk. They wanted control back. It started with a missed call from an unknown number. Then another. Then a voicemail. My mom's voice, breathless, like she'd been crying just for show. Mason, we just want to understand. This isn't you. Then my sister tried her version, sarcasm and cruelty wrapped up in emojis. Wow, you really need a hobby. Maybe therapy? Or a friend? Still, I said nothing. Because I knew what was coming next. And I was right. 3 nights later, their tone shifted. Dad, you're ruining the family. Sister, we're literally stuck in a foreign country because of you. Then came the hammer. At 3:14 a.m., a group message from my mom. Formal. Cold. Mason has decided he's no longer part of this family. Do not contact him. He's not himself. Something's wrong. Dangerous. That word made me laugh out loud. That was their move? Call me unstable? Tell the extended family I was spiraling? I knew it before I even checked. Still, I opened Facebook. Sure enough, she'd posted a vague status. Some people turn on you once they get a little money. The comments poured in. Supportive ones. Sympathetic ones. Fake concerned ones. You've always been the strong one. Your kids are lucky to have you. You deserve peace. My sister shared it minutes later. Added her own comment. We're fine. Family always sticks together, even when some forget what that word means. And there it was. The public story. I was out. They were in. Doing damage control. But what they didn't get, the version of me they tried to tear down, that guy was gone. I wasn't playing defense anymore. So I went quiet. Not the passive kind of quiet. Surgical quiet. No replies. No explanations. Instead, I archived everything. Screenshots of texts. Audio from voicemails. Timestamps on calls. Then I looped in my lawyer. Told him we might be heading into defamation territory. He didn't flinch. But they did. Because when silence and shaming don't work, desperate people always turn to the same thing. Threats. The first came the next evening. A voicemail from my dad. Slurred. Probably wine. Maybe bourbon. We know what you're doing, Mason. We can play this game too. You think you're untouchable? You're not. Then a text from my aunt, who hadn't spoken in months. This is getting out of hand. If you don't stop, you'll regret it. That part almost made me smile. Because I wasn't doing anything, not really. No posts. No calls to cousins. No dragging them through the mud. I wasn't fighting. I was just gone. And they couldn't handle that. Because when you're just infrastructure to people, your absence feels like a collapse. And they were falling apart. By the end of the week, a mutual cousin told me my mom had showed up at her hairdresser's in tears, telling the stylist that her ungrateful son had stolen from them and left them stranded. She even said I'd been mentally off ever since the accident. That particular cut didn't sting because it was unexpected. It hurt because it was so damn predictable. The dismissal. The brush off. The cold shoulder. They'd rather label me as unstable than admit I'd simply stopped handing them everything. But the real breaking point came on a Sunday afternoon. I was out walking, headphones on, when the security camera caught a familiar vehicle rolling into my driveway. My parents' SUV. They didn't bother knocking or ringing the bell. Instead, they slipped an envelope through the mail slot and left without a word. Inside was a note, handwritten by my dad. It read, "You think this makes you strong. But eventually, you'll see you still need us. And when that happens, Don't expect a warm welcome. Below it was a printed screenshot, a bank transfer from 3 years prior, $15,000 I'd sent to cover their broken furnace. One line was highlighted, "We never asked for this." That was meant to prove something. That I gave without being asked, so it shouldn't count. That I had no right to feel hurt. That's when the truth hit me. This wasn't just deflection. It wasn't a simple family spat. It was a slow erosion of trust. The kind that eats away quietly until there's nothing left. Where they try to poison the well you drank from, just so no one else can have a sip after you're gone. So I made a choice. No more defending myself. No more reacting to their moves. From that moment on, I'd rely only on facts. Receipts. Screenshots. Logs. They wanted silence. Or maybe shame. Instead, I gave them something clearer. It all started with a Dropbox folder I created. Plainly named, Family Ledger. I didn't send it out to everyone. Only a select few. Some cousins. My grandfather's nurse. An old family friend who still followed me online and kept liking my mom's passive-aggressive posts. Inside the folder? Proof. Bank statements marked with highlighted charges. My card. Their vacations. Screenshots of texts. Can you just cover this and we'll settle later? Spoiler, the later never came. PDFs from their Italy trip bookings. Names. Dates. Flight details. Hotel bills. All charged to me. All before they dropped that surprise announcement at breakfast. There were voice memos. One with my dad joking about squeezing another free trip out of me. Another, from Christmas Eve, my sister telling my mom, he's too soft to say no. He always does. No captions. No spin. Just file names. FlorenceHotel.pdf. ChristmasDinner.mp3. MortgageFreeze.jpg. And one final note I added at the end. This isn't about revenge. This is about balance. You told your side. Now I'm sharing mine, with footnotes. The reaction was instant. By noon the next day, my cousin Jenna texted me. Holy crap. I had no idea. They say you snapped. Then Uncle Lee messaged. Your mom's deleting posts. She's panicking. I didn't reply. Just watched. Facebook? Silent. Instagram? Comments turned off. Family group chat? Dead quiet. Then my lawyer called. Apparently, someone reached out to him anonymously, worried I was being defamed in the community. He asked if I wanted to take it further. I said no. Let them talk. I have the transcripts now. Because the power had already shifted. They just hadn't realized it yet. That night, my phone flooded with new messages. From my mom, this isn't fair. You're airing dirty laundry. From my dad, you don't get what you've done. From my sister, you've always been a victim. Congrats on the pity party. Not one accused me of lying. Because they knew the truth. And now, so did everyone else. What broke them wasn't the evidence. It wasn't the proof. It was that I never raised my voice. I didn't yell. I simply held up a mirror. And they hated the reflection. The following morning, I sent one last message to the family chat. Just 5 simple words. I am no longer available. Then I left the group. Blocked their numbers. Archived the folder. Not deleted, just tucked away. Because you don't erase evidence. You let it sit. In case the lies ever try to crawl back. Now, when they whisper behind closed doors, I don't flinch. Let them talk. I've got the receipts. They showed up unexpectedly. Middle of a random Tuesday. No warning. No heads up. Just the 3 of them. My mom, dad, and sister. Standing like actors in a bad intervention. Like the problem wasn't their actions, but how I responded. They look different now. Not broken. Not humbled. Just trapped. Maya opened the door. She didn't invite them inside. Instead, she turned to me and said, "It's your call." At first, I didn't move. Just sat there at the kitchen table. The same one where I built that folder. The same one where I finally chose silence over servitude. Then I stood up, walked to the door, stepped outside. Didn't go in. Just leaned on the doorframe. Arms crossed. Waiting. My mom was the first to speak. Of course she was. Her voice cracked on cue. We didn't come here to fight. I stayed quiet. She tried again. We've been thinking about everything, and we want to make it right. My dad shifted beside her. Silent. Stiff. Like a man caught in shame's crosshairs. Then my sister said, "We miss you." Those words should have felt warm. But I only heard calculation. Because this wasn't regret. It was desperation. They tried everything. Guilt. Threats. Silence. Slander. None of it worked. Now they were trying humility. But even that was a mask. The seams were showing. So I spoke plainly. Coldly. "You don't miss me. You miss what I gave you." Silence. Then my mom started crying. Quiet tears. For show. Her voice shook. We didn't realize how far this went. I looked her in the eye. "But how far did it have to go before you saw me?" My dad tried to dodge. "Look, you made your point. We get it. But this family needs to heal." I nearly laughed. From what? Accountability? They weren't healing. They were bleeding control. So I stepped out fully now. Feet planted. And said the line that ended it all. I didn't walk away because of Italy. Or the wedding. Or Christmas. I walked away because you made it clear, again and again. I only mattered when I was useful. And I'm done being useful to people who don't see me. My sister opened her mouth to speak. I raised my hand. "No. You don't get to argue. This isn't a courtroom. This is the verdict." They looked stunned. Like they honestly thought showing up would undo everything. But I wasn't there for theatrics. So I finished. You didn't lose a card. Or a business. Or a safety net. You lost a son. A brother. Not because I hate you. But because I finally loved myself enough to leave. They said nothing. Not at first. Eventually my mom whispered, "But what are we supposed to do now?" And that's when I knew. They still didn't understand. They thought this was about consequences. It wasn't. It was about clarity. So I gave her one last truth. You rebuild. Or you don't. But not on my back. Then I turned and walked inside. Didn't slam the door. Didn't look back. Just left them on the porch. In the silence they earned. They lingered a few minutes more. Hoping I'd change my mind. I didn't. They finally left. That was 3 months ago. They haven't tried since. And that, more than anything, showed me this wasn't reconciliation. It was negotiation. And I don't deal in debt anymore.